Hello, my name is Doug Leisure. I wanted to record this video to help out those of you that are using my Excel-based donation software for recording the donations and the giving at your church or other religious organization. As I've talked with some of you, it seems like you're struggling a little bit the very first time you try to use it to enter your donations. So we're going to go through those steps of how to enter your first donations. Now, I am presuming at this point you've already received the software, downloaded it to your local environment, and have done the setup to customize it for your church. All right, let's go ahead and go through those steps, and you'll see how quick and easy it is. All right, so let me launch the software. And one of the critical items in my mind, when it comes up and you're ready to do your first donation, you should see this pop-up window here, a prompt asking for you to enter the date of the donation, and it will always default to today's date. But the critical thing is, if that doesn't pop up, that probably means something isn't quite set up correctly. So go back to the instructions and make sure you set it up correctly, because this is what you should see when you open the master file. And again, remember, we always begin in the master file when we're doing a new donation. So it'll ask for the date and the time. Sorry, not the time, just the date. And let's go ahead and presume that we're doing an entry on March 6th. We'll go ahead and do it for a future date, March 6th. So if the date that pops up is not correct, not a big deal. Just put in the correct date. So March 6, 2022, that'll be the date of the donation. And then another little pop-up telling us that when we're all done, bring up the custom menu and the instructions on how to do that, so that we can complete the entry using my custom menu. Okay, so here we are, March 6th, ready to do our first donation, and we've already put in some donors. So we have some of our donors in there already. We're ready to just simply take a look at the donations that were given and enter them from the people that we have in our donor list already. Okay, so the first thing we find is we find a person that we've identified as, a donor number 2. So we enter in the donor number 2. We verify that the name is Natalie Stevenson, and that is correct. And we see that Natalie gave us $10 in cash, and actually it's two $5 bills, right? So $10 in cash, and she wants it divided evenly between the general and the missions funds. So $5 here and $5 there. All right, let's go on to the next one, which is donor number 3. We enter it and we see that that's Eliana McKenzie, and she actually gave us a check for $100. And let me pause here again and say her name went red because at the moment this row is not in balance. That is, we have money coming in, but we have not identified correctly how it's going to be distributed to our funds or categories. So it's out of balance. So that $100, she said she wanted it done as 50 in general, 25 in missions, and 25 in building. Okay, then we go on to the next one, donor number 4, and that's Emmy Shaw. Emmy gave us, actually she gave us two things, a $50 check, but also we see a $10 bill in there. So we have both cash and checks. And she said she wanted the $50 to go to general, but she wanted the $10 to go to a special collection we're doing for Vacation Bible School. So we put the $10 special in the special column, and then we mark that as for VBS, our Vacation Bible School special offering. All right. Next, we look at all of the cash that actually doesn't have a donor number on it, all of the loose offerings, and we've designated person or donor 100 is all of our loose offering. So we count all that up and we have $33 in cash. and that goes to our general fund. Oh, and then we see that Eliana McKenzie, she actually gave us a second donation on the same day. So we put in her donor number 3, and she gave us $25 cash, and she wanted that $25 to go to the Vacation Bible School special. So $25 in the special column, VBS as the type of, or the special that we're collecting for. And then we have one more, and this is Dylan Snow, and Dylan has never actually donated before. So we received Dylan's information actually via electronic fund transfer, meaning credit card, direct from the bank, online giving of other sorts. Okay, so we mark. First of all, I'm sorry. Before we enter anything here, Dylan's a new user, so we actually need to go to our donor list and set up Dylan as a new person. So we'll go ahead and just do him as person 101, Dylan Snow, and if you have an address, enter that. Email address, optional, phone number, those things are optional, but enter Dylan, assigning a new donor number. So now we can come back after we've done this entry. We can come back, and now we can put in person or donor number 101, confirm that it's Dylan Snow. And as I mentioned, it was actually an online donation, so that comes through to our bank as an electronic fund transfer, and that amount was $100. And we saw that Dylan wanted that to be divided evenly across our 4 funds. So we just do $25 in each one. Okay, that gives you a pretty good feel for entering a variety of different types of donations. And you would just continue, of course, in your environment as you're doing your donation, just continue adding everything here one after another. Remember, if you start to run out of room, right, the custom menu has option number, I didn't mean to click the save, sorry. The custom menu has option number 2, which says, hey, insert some additional entry rows. I'm running out of room. So that'll just add a few more rows here so you can continue adding more donations if you run out of room here. And you can run this option number 2 multiple times. Okay, so once we're done with the entry, the next thing we want to do then is to balance all of the money received as we designate it across the different categories. As we enter the amounts coming into cash, check, or EFT, now we want to balance all of that. And we're actually in the process, we're actually producing our bank deposit statement. Okay, so let's kind of walk our way down through it, starting with the cash. Okay, so we didn't have any coins, so that makes it pretty easy, but we did see that we had, let's see, 2 $5 bills. And the way you really want to do this is just, I think, put them in piles, separate them into piles, and then just count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just that kind of a simple counting. So, all right, so we see that we have 2 $5 bills from Emmy. Okay, so we put them in piles and we count them, and we see that we have 3 $1 bills. So we just enter 3 there. We count the 5s and we have 3 of those. We count the 10s, we have 2 of those. We count the 20s and we have 2 of those. So just keep it real simple. Count the number of bills, don't try to do the math in your head. Just let the Excel do the work for us. And when the red goes away here, we know that our cash is in balance. And then finally we have the next step where we're just simply going to enter the checks one after another in this area here. And I'll give you a little hint. The way Excel works is as you tab across here, it will just simply move down to the next row. So it'll move to the right and then down to the next row. So you can just simply put in the number tab, number tab, number tab. It's pretty simple. Okay, now for us, actually, we only have two checks. We got a $100 check from Elena, and then another $50 from Emmy, $50 check from Emmy. So we just enter those two checks, and then we see over here the red went away, so both of those are in balance. Okay, and finally, if we scroll down to the bottom, we see the little summary here. We had 228 come in that's going to the bank as a deposit. We also had EFT amount come in for 100, and the distribution across our various categories or funds looks like this: 163 to general, 55 to missions, 50 in building, 25 in benevolence, and a total of 35 in the specials. And at the bottom of this, I'm gonna manually refresh it. When you save it and it gets ready to print it, it will refresh this bottom piece automatically. Let me just force that to happen here so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so at the bottom then you will have a simple small summary of all of the specials that were given for that donation, and it'll be summarized here at the bottom. So in total, $35 to VPS, and we saw that matching here. Now you can have more than one special on the same day, so just put in different comments or different descriptions of your donations, and then that will create multiple lines down here summarizing it or totaling it by the type of special offering. Okay, now this is the part where everybody typically gets a little bit confused, thinking, oh, it's Excel, so I need to save it manually. No, you don't want to do it that way. You want to use my custom menu, because item number 1 in the menu says I've completed my entry. I'm ready for it to take over and do the other remaining steps, saving it appropriately and printing our donation information and our bank deposit and our summary for this particular donation. So that's item number 1. It'll do the work for you. So just put in a 1, hit the OK. Do you wish to complete the donation entry, save it and print it? Yes, we do. And let it go ahead and run through the code that it has in there to do those steps. Okay, and then it asks, hey, do you want to print it? And the only reason it's asking, sometimes people don't do their entry at a time or in a place where they don't actually have a printer set up. So it's an optional thing. I'm not going to, for our demo, I'm just going to say no and not print it. It still saves everything correctly, but it just doesn't do that step of printing it. Okay, and when it's done, it lets you know that it's saved a copy of our donation, that week's or that particular donation. It gave it a name that includes the date of the donation, and it tells us where it saved it. Okay, the other thing it does, and this is important, is it does two very important steps. One is it takes our donation information and moves it over here to the annual tab at the bottom of it. Here's our donations for March 6th. Okay, so it copies the information over there, and that's really important. The other thing it does is it also clears out this entry tab in preparation for next week's donations. So that's why next week, when you're ready to do it, you will come back to the master file and begin again here and with a fresh entry screen, always starting in the master. Okay, just to summarize this, the reason we move it to the annual tab, that is our historical record of all of the donations we've received, and we use the information on that tab to build our reports. All right, so you see we had some stuff in there already because I'm just using a sample, but we had January in there, we had February in there, and now we just entered our first donation in March, and it just automatically calculates those values into the March row, adding up the totals in general missions building our various categories. And as we continue to do our donations, this report will automatically change. In a very similar way, at the end of the year, we use that same information on the annual tab to build our receipts for each one of our donors. Again, looking at the information in our annual tab to build their receipt. Also, we'll use that same stuff as time goes on, so you can start to build a 5-year comparison. So, all right, hopefully that gives you a very good understanding of what you need to do when you do your first donation. And as I said, when it's time for next week's donation, you always start in the master. And when you're done entering for the master, remember it's my custom menu is what you want to use then to say that you've completed the entry. Let it do the appropriate steps to save it and print it. All right. Again, my name is Doug Lazier. Hopefully this will help you get started using the software to do your first donation. Thank you.